Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show. Well, over the last few months, a lot of the elective surgeries have been put on hold, and that's caused quite a backup that is now just starting to get free again. To talk about that, Meagan Cortinas, she is with the Liver Institute at Methodist Dallas. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I have to ask, so the pandemic happens, and it pretty much all hands on deck treating COVID-19. Mm-hmm. What did that do to the folks waiting for livers?
So for the liver transplant, the process became a few more steps. We had to test not only our transplant recipient, the donor livers, just to ensure these patients who are receiving the transplant are already so at high risk that we want to make sure that we're not putting in an organ that has COVID into their bodies. So it became a very sensitive situation, and we've handled it really well, and our team at Methodist Dallas has just done a superb job as far as following guidelines and procedures.
Absolutely. I think a lot of us don't even think about the liver. I mean, we know it's there and it's doing its job. What does the liver do?
So the liver essentially cleans the blood. So your heart pumps blood down to the liver, and then the liver takes out all of those toxins and impurities and then brings it back to the heart. So it plays a very vital role in your body, more than what people would think.
Yeah, I've heard it compared to an oil filter in a car, and it's just constantly cleaning that oil. So when the liver starts to break down, what happens?
So when the liver breaks down, there's several reasons that could be from. A big reason is cirrhosis. So cirrhosis is scarring of the liver, and when your blood or your liver is trying to work, it's having to work double time to purify that blood, and that can cause a backup into other parts of your body too. So it's very important that you treat your liver well, but whenever it does get cirrhotic, that you come to somebody like the Liver Institute to help treat your cirrhosis.
And you guys are really one of the crown jewels of Dallas healthcare. In fact, as I was doing research for this show, I found a great piece on Channel 8, and I want to roll that right now.
Yeah. The wait for a liver transplant can be excruciating. The average patient spends months on the list hoping the stars will line up in time. So to have 3 matches and subsequent transplants in 24 hours, well, that's nearly unheard of. But it happened this week in Dallas. News 8's Lauren Zakalik has the story you'll see only on 8.
Anyway. Just a few days ago, this scenario, this simple meal in a hospital bed, seemed far-fetched, as doctors told 52-year-old Julie Malandine's family she was going to die this week if she didn't get a new liver.
When I called her parents, I was ready to say goodbye to my wife, too, and I didn't know how I was going to tell the kids.
But Saturday afternoon, as her family prepared their farewells, they got the news there was a match.
We certainly accepted it because it was a perfect size for me and same blood type.
They didn't know it at the time, but Julie's surgery was about to be her doctor's 3rd liver transplant in 24 hours.
As it happens that, we are finishing the 2nd liver transplant, we get an offer for the 3rd one.
Dr. Alejandro Mejia led the team at Methodist Dallas for all 3 surgeries, each taking about 5 hours from start to finish. It was pure chance to get 3 organ matches in such a small amount of time, but a rare opportunity the surgeons seized.
An amazing thing that happened.
Tracy Giacomo says the average wait for a liver is 6 months at Methodist, so there's no time to waste when you have a match, even if it means exhausting back-to-back-to-back transplants.
What keeps us going is the patients who need it. So that's what we're here for. That's what transplant is all about, is be ready when the organs are available.
Malandine, a mother of 4 from Lubbock, is floored, now realizing how it all played out.
I just thank Dr. Mejia. He gave me my life back, our life back, actually.
And the lives of 2 other families as well. Methodist Dallas tells me they perform about 60 to 65 liver transplants a year, and at any given moment they have about 150 people waiting for those transplants. They can now cross 3 more people off that list. We're live in Dallas. Lauren Zakalik, Channel 8 News.
Love that story.
Wow, that was such a nice story.
Yeah.
I want to get you to tell a story that you told me earlier this week about a call that you got.
Yeah. So I do have the luxury of getting to know our patients a little bit deeper and listening to their stories. So I was talking to one of our patients this past week. She is a white woman. She received her liver transplant about 13 years ago, and she reached out to the donor's family and created a connection 13 years ago. And her donor's family is Black, and they created a really special bond. She's our patient has attended family reunions and really has been involved with her donor's family's lives since her transplant. And so when I was talking to her last week about everything that's going on with racial injustice and the Black Lives Matters movement, I asked her, how does that make her feel? And she said, you know, it makes her very sad because she knows that it was a Black family that saved her life. And the point before her transplant, she told me that she really was just ready to die, and that she was okay with it and she was at peace with it. And she got the call from us that you know, her name had been called and we were ready to transplant her. And 13 years later, her liver is doing great, and she has this new extended family. And what she told me is that, you know, the organ doesn't have a skin color. You know, we're all the same inside, and I think that's a really special story, especially for us in organ transplant, because we don't have any
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you spoke the other day with a great storyteller at Channel 8, so hopefully we'll see that on the news soon. Let's talk a little bit about fatty liver for me.
Yeah, so fatty liver is essentially like it's called. It is fat in the liver. It is a silent killer that we are noticing more and more cases in the U.S. And if left untreated, fatty liver does become cirrhotic, or it does turn into cirrhosis, which, like I mentioned before, is scarring of the liver. And so when that gets complicated enough, you do need a liver transplant. So fatty liver, we are doing lots of clinical trials to actually reduce fatty liver, which is the first of its kind right now.
Wow.
Which is great. And then we're also doing a lot of preventative measures. We can test to see how much fat you have in your liver and kind of monitor that along the way to make sure it doesn't get worse, so we don't see that cirrhosis and liver transplant.
And can it be corrected with diet?
It can be to a certain extent. We do recommend a healthy diet and exercise to kind of make sure that the fat in your liver doesn't get worse.
Yes. And you have satellite offices all over the place.
Yes, we do. So we have 11 satellite locations all throughout Texas, from Tyler to Midland, Lubbock, Amarillo. So we are able to treat patients in rural areas and monitor their liver disease. And if they do need a liver transplant, we can do all of the workup right there in their own backyard, and then we transplant them here in Dallas.
Wow, that is so cool. Well, thank you so much for sharing the good news with our viewers. We're going to put the website up so people can get in touch. The Liver Institute, tx.com is the website. Meagan, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was great.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.